adakah anda semua lagi selesa kalau saya cakap dalam bahasa Inggeris atau bahasa Malaysia? Inggeris. Dua-dua campur. Baguslah tu. Okay. Alright. I'll be as brief as possible. This idea of equality, the idea of equality amongst peoples, regardless of your race, your religion, your gender, is something which is established in international law. Yeah? It's very clear. Yeah? International law is very clear. That equality is a principle which is to be protected. Yeah? For example, you find it in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we, as a member of the United Nations, must respect. But there's also the concept of equality is not as simple as some people might think it is. So you have the idea, for example, of formal equality. Formal equality is where the government ensures that everybody is treated absolutely equally. But even in a system not like ours, even in a system which is not like ours, you will find that that absolute equality is impossible to achieve. For example, people with higher wages have to pay higher percentage of tax than people with lower wages. A person of 15 years old who commits the same crime as a person of 21 years old will be treated differently from the person who's 21 years old. There will be inequality in any system, even in a just system. There will be inequality. The idea of absolute equality is not practically possible. However, there's also the idea that equality is there's a concept of substantive equality. Substantive equality here meaning that equality only makes sense if there is a purpose to it, which gives, for example, either equal opportunity or equal results. Yeah? Equal opportunity would suggest that active action must be taken to ensure that people who are from a disadvantaged position must be put in a situation where they will not be in a disadvantaged position in order so that they will have the same opportunities as those who are better off. Okay? Now, again, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with these principles, with these ideas. As long as you take this action based on principles which are noble and just. For example, ideas of poverty alleviation and social progressiveness. You cannot treat people unequally for bad reasons, because that would lead to bad results. And this concept of unequal treatment in international law has been accepted as okay, but it depends. So, for example, there's a case in Belgium called in the European Court of Human Rights called the Belgian linguistic case, where the European Court of Human Rights decided that there can be unequal treatment as long as the objective of the unequal treatment is clear and acceptable, and as long as it is conducted in a way which is fair and also in a way which is proportionate. Okay, so let me be absolutely clear here. Even some of the things which my friend Anissa is talking about demands unequal treatment, because you're saying Indians must be given this and must be given that. Why Indians? Why not someone else? That already is unequal. Okay, so let me be clear on this. The idea of absolute equality, I don't think is possible, and I don't think is actually desirable either. Okay? Because I think there will be situations where we have to treat people unequally, but the purposes and the reasons why we treat people unequally must be just, and the implementation of it must be just. Now, this is where the problem arises in Malaysia. Okay? Because if you look at Article 153, the implementation of Article 153 is totally unjust. Now, let's look at this in a rational and measured manner. Article 8, like Anderson says, is about equality. It doesn't give us a right to equality. In fact, our Constitution doesn't talk about rights at all. Part 2 of our Constitution is about our civil liberties. It says it is about fundamental freedoms. We have the freedom of expression. We do not have the right of expression. Okay, because it doesn't specifically use the word rights in our constitution. Memang tak ada. Yeah? The word hak doesn't exist. It's kebebasan. Right? It doesn't mean we don't have any rights, because for me, rights are inherent. Human rights is something which is inherent in us. It is not up to the government to give us human rights. We already have human rights. It's with us when we are born. The government's duty is to respect our human rights. Their duty is not to give us our human rights. Our human rights are already ours. Okay? However, so that Article 8 is very clear. Everybody is equal before the law, except where the Constitution says there can be unequal treatment. Now, let's look at this in the context of 153. 153 is not in any way giving special rights, okay, to Malay people and natives of Sabah and Sarawak. 153 is the way which the Constitution deals with the idea, the Constitution deals with the fact that they want to do affirmative action, but they need to have the constitutional okay to do affirmative action. Because the basic principle of the Constitution, I believe, is still equality. So in other words, 153 does not give the right to Malays and natives of Sabah and Sarawak. 153 gives permission to the government to take certain actions. And those actions are very, very specific and very, very limited. Now, we can see from Davison's presentation that the kind of unequal treatment has spread far beyond what the Constitution allows. So even if we stick to the Constitution, even if we do not do anything to 153, we don't throw it away or anything like that, even if we don't do it, it's very, very clear that it has not been properly followed and implemented. And that, for me, is the key issue here, the key problem here. Yeah? Where what the Constitution allows is not what the government has been doing. The government has been doing far beyond what the Constitution allows. Therefore, the activities, the actions are unconstitutional and unlawful. And when it is unconstitutional and unlawful, you bring about a situation which is unjust and unfair, and this is why people are unhappy. Now, is this the way it was supposed to be? No. I don't think so. Because if you look at our Constitution and then look at the history of our Constitution, we will see things, for example, in the Reid Commission. In the Reid Commission, during the drafting of the Reid Commission, when the Alliance was asked for feedback and the Sultans were asked for feedback, their underlying ethos was that the country should be equal. In fact, the Sultans said in the Reid Commission report, right, that they were looking forward to the time, not too far in the future, where race will not be an issue anymore. That means the original founders of the Constitution, the elite of the country in 1957, and they are imperfect. I'm not saying they are perfect. They're imperfect, just like everybody's imperfect, but they actually had the aspiration that ultimately we won't be talking about race anymore. So where did it go wrong? Where did it go wrong? Yeah? For me, it's clear. Our Constitution was meant to be a pluralistic, secular Constitution with certain principles of fairness as its underlying foundation. But that has been taken away. That has been taken away, that has been twisted without amending the Constitution. 153 has not been amended. It's just not been properly implemented. And we've let them get away with it for 50 years. For 50 years. Okay, it's easy to blame UMNO, but let's not forget that we've been voting them in for 50 years, and UMNO's partners have done nothing. Everyone's to blame, yeah? But here, my point is very, very clear. For me, the myth of 153 is that it is a right. It's not a right. 153 is permission. Secondly, it has been totally and absolutely abused. And this is why we are in the situation that we are in now. If you look back at international law says that discriminatory, it has to be proportionate. If that's the case, then the implementation of any such activity must be scrutinized, must be examined, must be critically looked at. So in that situation, we must examine the situation that we have today, and we must be critical about it, and we must not be stopped from doing it. Furthermore, even in the Constitution itself, it says that whatever activities which is taken under the guise of 153 must be done reasonably. How can you tell if something is done reasonably or not if you do not examine and critically look at it? Therefore, anybody who says that we cannot look at 153, we cannot examine 153, and we cannot be critical of 153 is actually being unconstitutional themselves. Alright, so at the end of the day, my friends, it is about tremendous abuse of power for the purposes of a small minority, for the purposes of maintaining political power, that we are in the situation that we are today. I'm not of the opinion that the Constitution is fundamentally flawed. I don't think it is. I think our leaders have been fundamentally flawed. Thank you very much.